has been crazy, just wanna be okay. How can I pick up the pieces when everything breaks with every day? I'm getting older, I feel the weight upon my shoulders. I'm strong enough, I'll rise above. It's all gonna be okay. If I can be anything, I think I'm gonna be me. I know I gotta be me. Nowhere else I wanna go, no one else I'd rather be. I think I'm gonna be me. I think I'm gonna be me. Everything's changing, just trying to navigate. Oh, I keep on believing I'm gonna find my way with every day. I'm getting older, I feel the weight upon my shoulders. I'm strong enough, I'll rise above. It's all gonna be okay. If I can be anything, I think I'm gonna be me. I know I gotta be me. Nowhere else I wanna go, no one else I'd rather be. I think I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be me. I think I'm gonna be me, me, me. I know I gotta be me, me, me. There's nowhere else I wanna go, no one else I'd rather be. I think I'm gonna be me. I know I gotta be me, me, me. There's nowhere else I wanna go, no one else I'd rather be. I think I'm gonna be me. I think I'm gonna be me.
Oh, well, that's not the scene that we're supposed to be on. We're supposed to be on this scene. Welcome, everybody, to What If Wednesday on a Friday or Saturday, if you live in the future, as Stephen does. I am really happy to be back. And I think my last stream would have been on, it was Christmas, before Christmas. So, yeah, a month ago. No, February, 2 months ago. Oh my goodness. It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute, but there have been many reasons, okay, excuses, for why I've not been streaming regularly, but I'm really going to make a concerted effort because when I see comments from people like Sandy saying it's a nice surprise after a long day, I'm like, I know. You're right. You're right. And you know what? The intro song, just when you need that pickup, it's there for you. It's there for you. It's just fabulous. I'm glad you're all here. The stated agenda for today was to review some Pro League things and some Inter World Cup things. We're not going to get to the Inter World Cup things. I'm sorry. I have to put out the descriptions. I have to get the social media posted, and then I start working on the show. I know it sounds backwards, but actually, it's really the way that I have to do it because I have to get the social media done first anyway. And yeah, there's no time. There's no time. But I am going to recap Inter World Cup and maybe a few things from this weekend's club championship bonanza going on. If you're not on the Euro Hockey TV membership subscription seasons pass, yeah, words. The seasons pass, get on it because you get 4 tournaments this weekend, 4 tournaments next weekend. It's EHL coming up in Den Bosch over the Easter break. It is really a great bang for your buck. So I highly recommend you go pick that up. And I've got that too. And it's great to see so many familiar faces. Quentin, I haven't forgotten. It's in my inbox. It's coming. What If Friday. And well, look, here we are. We're going to do it. So, topics, let's discuss our topics. And I'm just all a mess here. I'm currently at my friend Hattie Wood's house. Hattie, Rob, thank you so much for hosting me and letting me do this in your office. I kicked Rob out. I was like, oh, what? You got to work? No, I got to stream. So here we are. Okay, topics. Let's go. Are we going to talk about aerials? Oh my God. Yeah, we are. We are going to look at a backstick goal, which was really interesting. We're going to look at a stick shield and some off-ball contact before the goal. And all of these clips are coming from the Pro League series that was happening. Let's see. I want some background music. There we go. How does that sound for everybody? Let me know if it's too loud. It's very soft for me. The Pro League series that was 6 days in Sydney that just concluded. And I know we kind of rough on the Pro League. We, as in me. I'm not talking to you, S lady. S lady thinks I'm talking. I can't say the name. Despite all of our objections about Pro League, I can't help but just to enjoy the return of really high quality outdoor hockey. And although the teams played maybe on 70% at times, because they're rotating a lot of new players through, it's just good that it's back. It's just sort of, I don't know, it's winning me over, I guess. Hard to say, but there you go. Perfect level, excellent, good, fabulous. Let's get started. Let's see if I can still operate all these little buttons. I got my Stream Deck. It's here. It's up and running. But man, 2 months. It's a long time. Here we are. Let's review some aerials, shall we?
But I would like to hear from both David and from Bernardo and from you.
This is not it.
What should the rule?
This is it.
With time expiring, Spain just trying to manufacture something, and here they go. Still time. Spain.
That's why. Okay. So what we're looking at in this clip is the new rule trial in motion. And I wanted to point it out because I think it's a really good example of what they're trying to achieve and what really good hockey and good attacking hockey can result out of it. So remember that this is what's going on in the Pro League. I'm not sure where else. I heard whispers of Australia and the Hockey One series were using it, but I'm not totally sure about that. And it's that defenders, if they've started 5 meters away, are permitted to close immediately on the first touch by the defender. And this is a great example of that happening. So the umpires are actually talking about this as well over the audio, and I can't make out all the words, what they're communicating, but there is a call for orange, that it's orange ball. And then one of the umpires says, yeah, keep going, keep playing, because the Spanish player who has started 5 meters away then comes in and closes from 5 meters onto the ball immediately and is able to dispossess cleanly and go on a lovely mazy run. So that's 5 meters there, as you can see. And then because, especially for the mishandle, which in a lot of circumstances should be a play on anyway, allows the close to happen and off she runs. So any questions about that, please do let me know. But I'm going to move on to another clip. I'm going to roll these a little faster if I possibly can.
Lovely ball from around that bottom.
The close doesn't quite happen as quickly.
Just running out of room.
Players are, I think, getting accustomed to this rule and also figuring out, as defenders, do I want to go hard or do I still want a little bit of buffer? Because if a player takes what they're calling here in the UK an aggressive receipt of the ball, so they're playing it forward, which obviously doesn't happen here, This is the initial contact point, and you can see the defender has started 5 meters away. But if they take an aggressive receipt, what you'd have is the two players coming like this. One of them knows what they're doing with the ball, and the other one does not. And I'm not a fabulous defender myself, but I can guess that some measure of caution is merited there, that they don't want to just blow straight up to a player if they suspect that that receiver is going to be able to have great control of the ball, and that could put them at risk of really getting blown out of the play. So so you do see a close before control necessarily has happened, but it's not super aggressive. But what I like about this, again, is that the 5 meters is preserved, and then there's no decisions to make other than the usual body, stick obstruction, body obstruction, the usual stuff. And we don't, under this rule trial, we as umpires would not have to think about what constitutes control, especially that nasty controlled and on the ground part. So this phase 2 segment of the aerial just goes away, doesn't exist, which I think is great. Let me know what you think. I don't know, have I missed any comments? Not yet, but let me know if there's anything that looks interesting about this for you. Thomas, after confirming with tournament regs, can confirm this overhead was not played in the latest HA hockey one. Thank you very much for that. I don't know where I'd heard that rumor, but good to know that I don't know what I'm talking about. Fabulous. All right. Now that we've looked at some of the trial stuff, we're going to look at
waiting in a penalty corner off the back of Grace Young's over-exuberance.
Normal that needs to be discussed.
It's a great ball, great 45-degree aerial right into the edge of the circle. Chinese player Liu waiting underneath it. Grace Young rushes in. She encroaches on the 5-meter.
So what we have here is a defender who is perhaps attempting an interception, but is coming in, and they're coming in laterally, which is bisecting the angle of the ball, the trajectory of the ball, which is sort of the most likely scenario where an interception could be legal. The problem is that because of how well placed the defender is, and or the attacker is, and you can tell absolutely no question about it, the Chinese player here is the clear initial receiver, but because she's running towards the ball rather than trying to cut it off a little sooner in its path, she ends up being within playing distance, and I would argue also is playing it dangerously. There's sort of the two layers of it, and either one could work, but playing distance doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be dangerous, but it could be. It definitely is both in this particular case. So it's one of those things that we're in a position when we're seeing these interception attempts is that we still have to gauge whether it's truly an attempted interception that just fails due to skill or lack of vision, or is breaking down the play. So if you have any sort of thoughts as to what you see here that you think might be making this more of a breakdown of play, please do let me know. But a penalty corner was called in this case. And I think you can start to make an argument about that. What we want to see here, and what we'd be looking for as umpires in this kind of situation, is an awareness by that defending player, the non-receiver, the interceptor, an awareness of just how close they are to that receiving area and that receiving player. So looking at the trajectory of the ball and how very stationary the receiver is, you know where it's landing. As a player, you're more able to gauge that rather than having other moving pieces like the receiving area start shifting that way or it goes a little further back. But at the same time, the interceptor has her head turned and she's very firmly looking for the ball and doesn't necessarily see how close she is in intercepting this this pass. within playing distance and dangerously. So it's one of those quite close ones for me. But when it's quite close and you're not sure, the best decision is the penalty corner, right? Because you need to be certain, not 100% certain, but you need to be certain of this being reckless as to the result of breaking down the play. So yeah, Tom is saying it probably it had been considered at some point, and maybe that's where I got my little piece of misinformation, but probably not. I'm probably just making it up. Stephen, it's a great initiative, and you'd love to see it rolled out. Yes, I think so too. Great, except for lazy players who want a mile of space on their receptions. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for this to be safely played out at all levels of competition. Because the key has to be that there is no phase one infringement whatsoever. And it means that you just, as an umpire, I think it's going to help everyone make correct decisions because you have so much less to think about. And that's always a good thing. Fewer decisions for us is always there. So you think she always had eyes on and was aware. Yeah, it's close. It is very close. But that's what you're going to want to be looking for. And if you have a good interior position, if you are in your happy place and you're watching this ball, and you're not watching this ball, you're actually watching the initial receiver. That's a really good tip. I think it was Dan Barstow who shared that in one of his recent England hockey webinars, that you just have to take your eyes completely off the ball and watch the receiver, and then everything else falls into place around that player. And you read them for where the ball is going. And that way it's much more clear who is there and where that playing distance is and where danger might be. Let's see, Luke, you think she was aware of attacker in a general sense, but always had her on the ball and did not realize how close she actually was. You're happy with the PC. Steven, disagree. Oh my gosh. It's my first show back in 2 months. Can everybody just like get along here? She makes a line to actually avoid running into the player. That's your thoughts. She must have some awareness of where the player is. I think by the time she gets there, and remember, slow motion always makes it a lot more, makes everything look more purposeful and more intentional. And actually, this angle that we have, let's see if I can pull this up on my amazing new app here. Annotate. There we go. Okay, let's see if this works. Friends, am I trying something new in the middle of a brand new show? So when you see this, and you can see the player is actually fairly, she's fairly, she is trying to eke out some space in this moment, but I think the trajectory of the ball fools her a little bit as she's coming in. And it's not as close as it looks from that back angle, which is one of the reasons why, if you don't want to actually be in complete line with this aerial, you don't want to necessarily be here because it's harder to gauge. You actually would want to try to be back more at that angle in order to see everything. Oh God, that looks good. So every situation is different, right? The trajectory of the aerial will dictate what your best chance and what best angle you're going to be at. And you're going to get some of them wrong. Absolutely. Because you're going to think, I'm in a great position for this. Oh, crap. It's not going where you were expecting it to go. So I think that's just something to consider here. And let's see. The defender's attempt was high risk with stick high in the reverse, and you thought she was aware. Okay. That's absolutely fair. It's distinctly possible. It's distinctly possible. We need enough certainty that we feel comfortable in making that call. Although, and to your point, and hence agreeing with you, there's enough ambiguity. Right. So that's something that I just wanted to highlight. I wanted you to go through the thought process. Think about, how am I going to be in the best place to see that distance? What am I looking for? What signs am I looking for after I'm focused on that receiving area? Watching for that defender, where their eyes are and where their their path is leading them so that you can make the most accurate determination. But very close. Yep. There you go. Okay. Fabulous. Last aerial clip. How am I doing for time? This is going fast, everybody. Maybe I should have done those indoor clips. Don't worry, we have lots of controversy later. It's going to be fine. Everything will look a lot more intentional. Yeah, with slow motion and different angles. So you're leaning slightly more to the PC. But yeah. Yeah, and that was what my gut said when I saw it. And then when I started looking at it from the different angles and I realized where I think it's Amber here would have likely been. Well, you can see her right there. She's actually at a very she's in that second angle that I drew out, right in her happy place, able to see that. And I think that that's where, when we see this angle, we think, ooh, that's really, really close. And she's got to be aware of that. But Amber's looking from, as you can see, I'm pointing because I'm not using my technology. She's in a really good spot for that. So there you go. Look, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be more concise. Great to see you. Okay.
Difficult as Corey Weir throws a wonderful pass.
It is a great pass. Atkin brings it down and on towards goal. Davis Atkin! Wow, 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 Davis Atkin.
Corey Weir, let's have a look at this again. We saw Yup Demol throw a similar ball along the carpet in the first half. Davis Atkin brings it down. He's got the frame of mind to knock it towards goal. That's the key. He could easily dribble this towards the baseline, but he pivots straight at goal there. Awesome, awesome touch. That's a half volley.
It's no goal there, very confident. Maybe trying to just create some doubts.
Watch the Dutch defender get caught with the sun here as well. So as the ball goes up and over from Weir, you'll see the Dutch defender about now lose it. That's all I need to see. That's fine. It's a great pass, wonderful finish, great goal.
I've put up a poll because polls are fun. It's a YouTube poll, though. It's not in the Discord.
So the ball has beaten. The ball has beaten
to
Van
get some
Dam.
more
That's the key here. When we talk about
activation
landing
here.
zone, if it's in conjecture or it's a 50-50,
So go ahead.
the free hit will always go to the team who hasn't thrown the ball. That is a great pass, and it should be rewarded as such. It's beaten Van Dam all ends up. Even if he stuck his stick right up in the sky as high as it could go, he still wouldn't get this ball.
And it's at 5 metres initially, but it is one of the more subjective scenarios in terms of danger and landing zone, who's set, who has the space, and it is one of those intricacies of international sport that the umpires need to pick through, and both sides will often disagree.
Well, look, you can see there, he's within 5 metres of Atkin as he receives. But the key here is we want to reward attacking brilliant play. The ball has beaten the defender. Atkin has made a clean receive and then finished beautifully into the net. I think it should stand.
I think it's Australia ball. This is? I think it's Australia ball. Yeah. That's my fault. Yeah, right.
That's the referee, David Tomlinson, saying it's Australia ball.
There is no advice possible. I do not have a clear angle. You may say with your on-field decision, and the Netherlands keep their referral.
To me, that's Australian ball. To me, that's Australian ball. We've gone over the top of you. To me, I reckon it's Australian ball. So I reckon it's a goal anyway. So you keep your referral. So we can look at that afterwards. It's really shit. For me, I'll be blowing that as a goal every day.
So much fun. I love that whole clip because at the end, what you can hear is Tomo's assessment of the situation, that he thinks that the Australian attacker is the clear initial receiver in that case. And the fact that, I mean, this is a really good question. Turkish Barber, warm welcome. Haven't seen you around here to my memory, friends. So thank you for joining in. And saying that the Dutch defender has to duck here, is that an indication of a free hit defense? I'm not sure, because I don't think in this moment, actually, I think the Dutch defender, who is actually the captain as well, who called the decision shit, loses track of the ball. Because as soon as he's sort of looking up and then he just decides, because perhaps he has lost track of things, that he's just going to duck. out of the way, whereas instead of looking for the ball. And I don't often agree with Simon Orchard. In fact, I usually violently disagree with him. But a lot of the things that he says as he's parsing this decision out, which he does in when he does that in full detail as the slow motions are running, is that he says that the angle of the ball is crucial. So Turkish Barber, this is something that we need to assess. Contrast this to the Australia-China call that resulted in the penalty corner and how low the trajectory of that ball was. It was receivable along much more of its pathway. This one was an absolute lofty bomb, and it drops. It drops overhead over the defender's head. And had he been able to look at, I think the sun really did mess with him in this case. And if he hadn't have lost track of it in the sun, I think that he would have struggled to have a stick in the way. He would have been the interceptor. He was not, for me, the initial receiver. And I don't think that this is a case where there isn't a clear one and you have to call it dangerous that way. And I'm looking at the results of the poll so far. How do I? I don't want to end the poll. I just want to see the results so far. 79% of you are asking for the play on to the goal. I don't even think it's an advantage situation. I think it's a no foul, and that's why I use the terminology play on, just to keep it simple. And 77% of you would have awarded the PC. Okay, so what you're saying is that you see a foul against the attacker and there isn't sufficient advantage for you. And what I'd want you to think about when you're trying to apply advantage is in that moment, is blowing the whistle for a penalty corner better than the opportunity that presents itself if you allow it to continue? And what we have here is an attacker who is actually a little bit past the defender, because instead of it being the defender in between the attacker and the goal at the moment of this reception, the attacker is actually ahead and has a lane to the goal. And it's pretty easy with hindsight to say, well, clearly he's got a great advantage. But what you're trying to assess in that moment is what is going to happen should this continue? What is the opportunity here? Is it better than a penalty corner? Equal to or better? And in this case, I think it truly is a better opportunity to allow things to continue if there's a foul. But I don't think in this case that there is one, because I don't think the defender is actually causing any disadvantage. He's not trying to intercept the ball, which might be another reason why he's ducking, is that he clearly wants to show, I'm not trying to intercept this. And I'm really hoping that maybe the foul will get called my way. So that's the way that I see that, and almost 80% of you agree. So there you go. Let's see what. There we go. Yeah, and Viv, that's a great point. Tomo is really doing a good job of explaining what it is that he's seen and the way he's talking to the captain to try to communicate about that situation. It's difficult because the captain is also the defender involved. And so his vision of what happened on the pitch is going to be very different. And that's something that we can think about from an empathy standpoint when we're having that conversation with that player. Did the captain with whom we're speaking have a great view of what happened? Not in this case, because he was involved in it, sun got in his eyes. As Stephen points out here, everything the Australian player doing was from the moment showed he was in the right place, had the right sight all the way, and was most able to receive. Netherlands was at best a safe interceptor. Yes, he could have been within playing distance, but probably far enough away that he could try to do it safely, unless he sticks his stick out, and because of the trajectory of the ball, he's sticking his stick close to the head of the initial receiver. That would definitely make it an unsafe, interception. So there you go. And the defender had to run towards the ball, was eventually received. That's a good spot, Richard. So the Netherlands was at best in a safe interceptor position until he lost it in the sun. Yes. This gin and tonic is fabulous, Hattie. Thank you if you're watching the next room on the 35-second delay. The Australian receivers show the most control during the aerial compared to the Dutch. Great whistle hold. Yep. And I mean, I think that it's easy to say. Just contrast the positioning of where we saw Amber when she had a similar sort of angle laterally coming across, and then where Tomo ended up. Now, I'm not. This isn't for judgment purposes, but think about where he's got a decent side angle on that, but now he has to follow the play in. Whereas if he had been deeper and he had been in his happy place at that moment, taking a more interior spot as the ball's on the far side, then the ball just moves across him. He doesn't watch it as it goes up. He just watched the receiving spot, and he'd have the same angle just from the other viewpoint, and then he'd be in front of it as the ball's coming towards him. So just something for us to think about when we're looking at, well, where do I want to be when these aerials might be coming in? Steven, at this level, the attacker would have blown up. The attacker would have blown up if FPC was awarded. Yeah, absolutely. He would have not been happy. With that much of the match left to go, you're surprised Netherlands burnt the view on the play. Well, as it turns out, they didn't, because I'm about to call her Katrina, but yes, Katrina Turner in and now I'm worried that I'm saying her first name incorrectly. Ms. Turner in the booth actually feels that she doesn't have the right angles to assess the play, so says that I have no advice possible. So Netherlands actually keeps the referral. Why they decided to risk the referral in this play? Yeah, I think probably not the best, but the best decision in that particular moment. Yes, yes, her previous surname was Wolf. So, but if I got everything else right, there you go. Thomas, if he'd been deeper, then he probably wouldn't have been able to see the receive because the sun on that pitch at that particular time of day. You mean Thomas? No, Tomo would have been just totally fine. Look at the angle of the sun. The angle's going back. It's literally on the same line as the sun. So if he's side on there and he's side on there, the sun's not going to be an issue. But there you go. Okay. So those are the aerials that I wanted to have a look at. Nice to see you, Mr. Mewis. Polo, as he's known, but I feel weird calling him that because I didn't know him in his former life, so I call him William. Nice to have you. Just as a reminder, there are things that I do. I'm really happy that I'm able to provide these streams education for absolutely everybody. If you know people who could benefit from listening to a Canadian talk about hockey umpiring stuff, please send this along, send them links to the channels, to the website, or anything like that. I would really appreciate you spreading the word because that's what we do in the hockey family, is we spread the word to people we know and love. But also I do provide a few little things. The mission critical positioning course that I've been speaking about, this is the core of sort of the bedrock of what I coach as an umpire coach and umpire manager, and I've been learning as I've been coaching. So when I say major update coming, it's because in the last 3 years, I've learned a few more things about what works and what doesn't work in terms of the MCP method, and that is being included in an update. If you purchase now, you will receive all the updates forever and ever and ever and forever. So don't be afraid that you're going to get information that isn't going to be valid for you or keep pace with the game. That's a big priority for me, and you will have that available. And then if you are interested in taking everything another step further in terms of your own umpiring development, we do have the third team, and we have green and yellow memberships. I have to set things up now, but yellow is by application now, but green is a great place to start for your memberships. So You will have access to my entire clip library, access to the watch parties we run, access as a participant, observer, and contributor, if you wish, to our remote debrief. So umpires who are yellow can provide match footage of their stuff, and we all pile into a Discord voice channel and we watch the match together, and I coach through the whole match. It's a very holistic review and a really, really valuable experience. So much so that next week, I think it's Tuesday night, yellow member Mike McDowell, who you can see in the picture, he's the tall one, by the way, he's going to debrief me because I've returned to the pitch recently and I have questions about my performance. There are things that I'm not happy with and things that I might be happy with if somebody would be nice to me. So I'm going to see how Mike McDowell is going to do with that. If you're interested in sharing that experience, next Tuesday, it's going to be fun. So there you go. Sir, we only slap tariffs against the Americans. It's called retaliation. Yeah, the tall one, McDowell. Fabulous. Okay, let's move on to our next topic. There's only one clip for these next three topics, but I thought they all have a lot in them. They're quite meaty, so let's get into it. No, this is incorrect.
For this Australian side to be able to close the space down.
Do I fix the scene? I fix the scene. I know I changed this. I know I did. There we go. VR, video referral for a back.
For this Australian side to be able to close the space down and create more opportunities. It's a goal for Australia. Cooper Burns sets things alight in the first of many.
And Holland have referred to ask just that. Let's have a look again. Turnover from Holland, pounce on from Harvey. Great pass wide.
My referral, please. Can you have a look at the shot to see if it was back stick? It looked okay to me, but can you just check for a back stick? My referral.
He was referred, considering he gave the goal.
Okay, a self-referral. Because when you look at...
So the flight of the ball is usually the key with a reverse stick shot. Often it has that dipping nature to it. That obviously goes high into the
As
roof.
Orch points out,
but it still had an odd ball flight. Let's take a closer look.
It's almost a loft wedge for golfers. Got right underneath it.
Oh, I think that's fine.
Yep.
And you know, as a player, Cooper Burns immediately celebrated. You know what I think's happened? I think he's hit the ball higher up on the stick than normal, which has forced the ball to almost loft, as you said, high into the net.
That's it. Watch this point of contact. You're spot on. That's a good, what, 10 inches up the shaft.
Not normally where you hit a tomahawk. Normally it's right down the bottom of the stick near the hook. It's obviously a wider surface area, flatter surface area, and a lot of hockey sticks down there. And that's not the bottom.
David, there is no clear reason to change your decision.
How dare you? How dare you, Richard? Okay, don't worry about it. Thank you. Because you closed my poll. No, I have to end the poll. I just ended the poll. There you go. Yes. Oh, yeah, let's do a poll for this. Okay. Hold, please, while you watch the replay. Now, this is another uncomfortable one for me because, again, Simon Orchard saying things that I'm not mad at. And it's a very uncomfortable place for me to be. There, two options. I'm getting prompted. I'm getting prompted for polls. I can't set these up in advance, unfortunately. They have to actually, so I have to sit here and clickety-clock. Okay. So what Orch is pointing out as he's leading through these replays is about where the contact point of the ball is and how far up the stick it is. If you're looking at the usual symptoms that we assess and we add up to help inform us of a backstick decision, the spray that comes up off the turf is significant. There is a ton of spray, which is probably what Tomo was really concerned about. There's also the trajectory of the ball. It's a looping. It doesn't seem to fully reflect the velocity of the stick swing, the speed at which the stick actually strikes the ball. And I think it is valid to talk about the where on the stick it hits, but what really sticks out for me is when I'm looking at this on, let's see if I can really slow it down. And I think the angle that I need is going to be this one here. Okay. Is, as you can see this, look at where I'm trying to get it perfect. Eek. I think you can see it there, but just how far underneath the stick gets under the ball. Usually what happens with the spray is that the stick is hitting the turf, and then it bounces up over top of the ball. But in this case, the stick is hitting the turf really hard, but I think from what we can see that the stick is actually chipping underneath the ball. And when you look at how flat the hook of the stick is there, and look at how the ball is heading up this way. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to draw on your butt, Tomo. But the ball is heading up just really at an opposite angle. If the ball had been struck in the center of it, if the center of the ball had been struck, that ball would have gone and it would have gone flat on the ground and possibly into the goal that way. But that is a very sharp trajectory that I think shows us that he's actually really undercut that. Let me know if you think that is, if I'm on drugs there. Let's see what the folks are having here. We have 100% are on goal. Is that because a lot of people voted or nobody's voted? What? So I found this fascinating. And, in the moment, I was suspicious. I had my concerns. And Tomo takes absolutely the correct approach by self-referring this because he would have had the same sort of suspicions as well, obviously. And he has the opportunity to say, I'm going to make my call, and now I'm going to make sure by getting somebody else to look at it. But this particular manner of striking the ball was very unusual, striking underneath the ball. When I was umpiring last week, I'm going to say this a lot. When I was umpiring last week, because I'm umpiring now, I was pretty sure I saw a couple of those. I might have gotten them wrong just from the reactions of the players. But it did appear to me like the players got so low with their stick that they undercut, and that's why the ball floated up. These were both passes in my case. But there you go. In your games with no replays, skill of players, and two of the factors present, you'd probably call the back stick and nobody would probably complain. Yeah, I can see that. And when you actually look at the ball, looking at that one particular angle there, the ball actually doesn't float very much, does it? It goes straight up. And it's just whoosh, skying. So I think, I missaw that in the moment, but the spray's there. You're not going to allow your calling back stick based on the spray and trajectory. You're still waiting on your VU. I got it. McCartney. Yeah. Remember last week at band camp? Remember last week when I was on the pitch? Oh, it's going to be obnoxious. I'm so sorry. Sorry in advance. Okay, do we have any? Okay, I'm going to leave. There's 19 votes. That's a lot of votes, you guys. Thank you. But 100% of you are saying that the best decision, having seen it on replay about a dozen times now, you're all on board with the goal. Sounds good to me. Okay, fabulous. What should we move on to now? Probably topic number 3. Let's do it. What is stick shielding?
Hoodemaker's running towards the D. It is Hoodemaker's now. Henderson coming in. Hoodemaker's shot doesn't count.
The team referral from Australia, they are looking for the shielding.
Will receive. You'll see Henderson with one hand on the stick on his reverse, coming from behind the player here, or on his forehand. Peters does really well to open up the play. You can see he squares Weir up. Great ball. Nah, there's not enough in that.
Hard to overturn, isn't it?
It's almost unfortunate because Mitch Nicholson makes a great save high to his stick side. He gets the ball, but I think it's just play on. One-handed, low, probably rushes through the challenge.
Oops.
There's not enough in that to overturn, which has been the story of the day, really, hasn't it?
Cindy, there is no clear reason to change your decision. Stick with the penalty corner and Australia lose their referral.
Okay, so let's have a look at this new poll. Get in there. A bone of contention, that's what stick shielding is. So the VU decides in this moment that she's not going to overturn the on-field decision. And I think I can understand, again, why in the moment, why the on-pitch umpire has deemed that to be a legal tackle. One of the things that I think you need to look for when you're looking for a stick shield is the angle of the defender and where they are vis-a-vis the ball carrier. Are they behind them or are they in front? And I've seen an increasing number of stick shields called against ball carriers when there is a defender behind them or alongside, which I have to say makes very little sense to me, because it is a natural action for a ball carrier to have their stick behind the ball and to be ready to push it, to direct it in other ways. What's not natural is for that player to put their stick in front of the ball as they're still moving forwards, right? That's the problem, is when the tackle can't come in because the stick, which had been behind the ball or moving from side to side, then goes in front momentarily and then goes back and continues along. That's where the shield comes from. So the problem here is that you have a pretty unusual situation where the defender is coming in and is actually catches up to the ball carrier, and I think gets far enough in front. So if I can freeze frame it right at the moment. So the body angle is here and stick is in front of and pretty much perpendicular to the path of the ball. That's a good attempt at a tackle that doesn't usually come off. And let's face it, if he gets this wrong, which I think in this case, contact is made outside, that this is actually being deemed as an intentional foul, a reckless disregard breaking down play outside the circle. But the in the moment, you can just see, I'm trying to do it very carefully here, that the attacker's stick comes over top and makes it impossible for the defender to tackle the ball. Very unusual, because the cues that we would normally pick up in the moment, again, much like the back stick that we just saw, aren't ordinary. It's not, defenders usually don't catch up like that and get in front and do a good job of not swinging their stick and all those sort of things. So important to see. And Mike McCartney there, you checked with the locals. Who are the locals? Who are you canvassing close by? Is this on a big screen somewhere? Should I be feeling really self-conscious that I'm drinking a G&T? Do you think YouTube condones this behavior? Thank you, Mr. Milford. So let's see what we've got here on the poll. So we've got 73% are still going with the penalty corner that was called on the pitch, and 27% of you are going with the stick shield. And if I'm throwing my lot in here, I'm going with the stick shield as well. Despite the fact I really struggle with the notion generally of chasing defenders getting rewarded for just getting their stick somewhere in the way, but in this case, the defender really does a good job of getting his stick in front of that ball. That's what I see. Oh, we're starting to change the slant here. 13 votes. And you almost feel like there is a third option play on. Yeah, it's definitely an option, because there's not much of a disadvantage to the attacker if you think the defender has fouled here. Then the attacker, it looks dramatic in slow motion, but I think you've got probably a lot of ability for this attacker at this level just to continue, and they're not actually disadvantaged. Or if you believe the defender is fouled, then this is a pretty good advantage situation at this level of play. Not sure if it's a better opportunity. Yeah, fourth option there. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, the locals. I see. I got it. I'm catching up. I'm catching up. There you go. What time is it on Saturday for you? It's got to be even further in the future than it is for the Ironbergs. There you go. Okay, so I hope that discussion helps. And again, we're focusing on principles here. We're talking about the things that we need to look for when we're watching play. And it's that really, really skillful and very athletic tackle that's made by the defender there that is almost, I don't want to say unique, but extremely rare to see at these levels, because I think the attacker here is thinking about, you know, what shot they're going to make, but that number 9 is just coming in with incredible pace that you don't ordinarily see. So there you go. And I'm just waiting for Jolt's comment there. It's coming up on 9 a.m. So 7 a.m. for most of the Aussies. Okay. Y'all know stuff. That's good to know. Cool. Right. Our last clip. This could be an hour. This could be a real hour.
Of the year in 2024.
You have to get your comments in fast.
This is a nice spot for Spain to be, and it is redirected. It'll be a Spanish goal. We'll wait to see exactly how it came about. There was chaos in the D, Spain on the counter.
Looking for the pushing into the circle.
We couldn't hear the message from David Tomlinson there. The hard ball across from Spain. is aimed at his attacker on the back post in Mark Rain. The Dutch defender claiming that there's been a shove in the back. Let's take a look from another angle. That's not going to tell us anything. This will give us a better look. Rain on the back post, I reckon, clear right hand off the stick into the back of the Dutch defender. Reason for him to dive as they run into the circle. The ball across is great. It's out of the reach of the goalkeeper. Rain with the right hand there, shoves the Dutch defender into the ground.
It'll be interesting to see if there's another angle.
David.
As it turns out, there is. But it's not one that
There's no
we
clear
see.
reason to change your decision. Go stand, and Netherlands lose the referral.
This is an angle that Jerome Delmay put up on Instagram. So he put up a post, and it wasn't, I don't think, particularly out of hand the way that he described it. It wasn't. He didn't call names or, you know, but he was insistent, and of course he's protecting his players, and I can understand that sentiment entirely, saying that these are the kind of plays that we have to be able to detect and we have to deal with correctly if our sport's going to progress. I think that's a little hyperbolic. I don't think that this is the cornerstone of our sport's ability to be marketed and to improve. Is it an incorrect decision? Well, let's have a look at what the tower angles that you wouldn't see, that we didn't see on the broadcast, but were definitely available to the teams. And I've slowed it down so you can see. Clear contact. One more pull. Okay, and you can watch all of that again. I had my options all set out. Okay, there's a lot of options on this one, hopefully all of which YouTube will let me post. Yeah, there is a little tell from the attacker, isn't there? Like the loud whistle goes and he sort of looks and he's sort of like this at Tomo, and then he's there. So interesting. One of the points that Stephen is talking about that was one of the things that I was interested in, and I think was one of the, I don't want to say determinative, but it was one of the bigger factors that came into the way that Cindy would have looked at this, is that from the other angles that we had that were on the broadcast, which could have been only what she had available to her in the booth, she could have had other ones. She wouldn't have had this. She might have had another one behind the goal, but from lower down, we might not have seen what we see here. And what I see on this is the contact is definitely before the strike and may have appeared in the moment that it wasn't, that it didn't actually have anything to do with the play, except when we see at this moment. So there's the contact. Okay, we're all pretty happy, and I don't think there's absolutely no reason to suspect that the player is, you know, he's stumbling forward, that, and he's got his hands on his stick in this moment, so he's not trying to make a meal out of it, as it seems like everybody gets accused of as soon as they fall down to the ground. But what I'm concerned about is that this player here either has an indirect effect on the goalkeeper's ability to make the save because he's got somebody flying at him from this distance, but I think the ball goes in off him because of how it deflects into the goal. Because the trajectory of the ball is actually going this way, and it ends up going, well, not quite like that, but it ends up coming up into this top corner. I think it actually hits him in order to get there. Would have been very difficult to spot in the moment on the pitch. This match had a lot of really interesting things going on. And so that's why I've outlined in the poll options to look at separating out the misconduct of the push from the result that you get, or that you simply go with a free hit defense. So things to consider, but that angle that we had from the tower really tells the story that I think we didn't have the ability to see anywhere else. It had everything to do with the play. The ball was directed, but yeah. So, Joel, you're seeing the same thing that I am. Taco, the defender was slowing down before he was hit, so he would have been better able to defend. Well, yeah. I mean, either way, but he's in the right spot to cut off that channel and to mark. And he doesn't have to get out of the way of the attacker. That is not like a third party obstruction. In that case, he's entitled to hold his space because he's there first. So there's nothing there in it. So how are we doing with the poll results so far? 80% of you with 14 votes are asking for a free hit defense and a yellow card, and 21% of you are saying a free hit defense, and everybody else is going the other way. And I think that is completely reasonable. And it just goes to show, yet again, friends, how important having different angles and how inadequate the best angle we could have been at, even on the pitch, may not have shown us that. Even if we were able to track the ball going that quickly and we were able to see, the push from there at the same time as the ball's being crossed, and we're making sure all that's tracking. So we're looking in two places at once somehow because we're miracle workers. Would we have been able to see all of those things at the moment? Pretty difficult. Thomas, you also need to consider the danger of pushing a player towards a shot at goal. Yeah, I mean, it's just dangerous, period. I don't think you have to worry about whether it's, what the situation is. It's pushing a player to the ground in the middle of play. You're not sure, ESP. They get to say Espanol. Get it right. There's plenty of ball watching going on, just careless. So you're at a free hit defense, but no card. Okay. You're the 20% there. I'll keep it up for a couple more seconds so people can have their votes. But yeah, I think again, what are we going to look at here to make this more something that's actionable for us on the pitch? What can we think about? Having great communication from our supporting umpire. We will talk about your supporting umpire being backdoor or taking the circle while you take the ball, or vice versa. And those are the moments in which you can really do some work on your radio comms. You do the work in the pre-match, but you also do the work on the radio comms about who's got what in the moment. And it's very difficult to take your eyes off the ball. I think almost all of us in that situation, if we were on the pitch, regardless of whether we were in the control or the supporting positions, we would have been staring at the ball. And we have to really think about how we can train ourselves to notice different things in the right moments. Can we notice where other players are coming from? Can we watch for shirt pulling, stick tripping? I made an entire playing career knowing that nobody was watching me because, first of all, I did nothing well so nobody was looking at me. And second of all, I did all my dirty stuff off the ball. And I was able to compete with players who far exceeded my athleticism, my skill, my hockey sense, speed, everything. They were all better than me. But I did the cheap things when nobody was looking. And that kept me in the game. It kept them frustrated. It kept them away from the ball because I did stuff like that. I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it. I didn't bring anybody to ground. I just knocked them a little bit. So those are that kind of habitual pattern of play is exactly what your own domain is sort of highlighting. Not this person and this particular case, but these are the kinds of things that we don't want our sport to be about. And I can understand that. I really can. And I think we can have a lot of empathy, even though I don't love the forum in which it happened. I don't love it happening on social media like that. But it's a viewpoint that has a lot of validity. And I can see why he said it that way. Watching the ump, forgot all about this. Taco, you'd say the ump was in the right position to see, but then again, what are you focusing on? He's in motion. Okay, so he's catching up to the play. He's in motion. And when you're in motion, it's very difficult to be intentional about what you're going to pay attention to. If you got my newsletter that I sent last night, this morning, tomorrow, wherever you're living in the time scale, I'm being I'm taking a very different approach, and I'm trying to challenge my own thinking about this notion of focus and what it means, because I talked about in the newsletter. There's this scientist named Dr. Ellen Langer, who says that focus is just the wrong word, because focus connotes to us this notion of holding something still. When we're running, we can't focus on anything because we're not still. And the object isn't still. Everything's moving. So we have all these things that are working against our ability to focus. Instead, we can notice. We can notice what is changing in the moment, what is all the different variables that are fitting together. And training ourselves to think that way and perform that way, I think, will have a beneficial effect on our decision making. But by reducing the number of things that are changing at once, we can probably pay attention to the things that are most important, which is what happened above there. And if you're at your happy place and you're looking up towards the play, you're more likely to have a chance at seeing what happens at the P spot as the players are coming in. So, on that slow-mo, the arm extends from bent to straight, so it's likely more applying a focus, intended force to the opponent. So you're changing to a yellow card. You're welcome to change your mind. That's totally fun. And you were thinking about that, yeah. So it's a thought in progress. It's a work in progress. I hope that's something that we can continue to talk about, because I think this could be a real sort of frame breaker for us. Mindset shift, something that can really unlock some different and better aspects of performance there. So there you are. Well, friends, I can't believe it. It's only 1 hour and 9 minutes. This is not a Keeley hour. Do you feel ripped off, or is this better? I think it's better. I think it's better. I really enjoyed being able to work through some clips again. We are going to look at indoor very soon. I have to look at what's going to happen to my schedule next week before I can make any promises about what night I'm going to be able to do a stream, because all of a sudden I end up getting drawn into doing some matches and during the afternoons usually, and then I can't get back in time to do a stream. That's what's happened for the last few weeks. So we'll see what happens. There was that time that I was on the pitch last week. We'll see what happens, but I do have Indoor World Cup clips to look at. There's more action going this weekend. If you see something and you'd like me to cover it, whether it's from a social media post, it's from a match that you're watching online, please get in touch. You can email me, keely@FHumpires.com. You can come into the Discord server and you can pose it as an Ask FHU in the appropriate channel. That's a great place for it because we can have some nice targeted and consensus building discussion. Not gonna do it. I feel like I'm doing an SNL skit. We can build some consensus in the server that way, and you'll get your value from it, that's for sure. Is this going to be the movable spot or is it a movable? It's a fluid situation, like my life. There you go. The world is starting to heal. Jeez. Let's not get hyperbolic. Hyperbolic. Somebody's going to correct my pronunciation at some point. But it was awesome to be back and great to be in touch. Send me your ideas, send me your clips, and we will be back hopefully at some point next week to do more stuff. Until then, keep being awesome out there on the pitch. You are not alone. You are with the third team. So thank you, and we'll see you soon. Bye.